Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day. Jennifer is grateful for the opportunity to educate, empower, and inspire you with powerful conversations, insights, and new viewpoints. Here's your host, Jennifer J. Hammond.
Hello. This is Jennifer Hammond, and I'm so excited. As you know, every week I'm always looking for someone really amazing to be on the show and to have a great conversation about, well, a little bit about real estate, but also how do you find that yay in today? And so my next guest, I'm so excited, Jarl Jensen. He is not only, I'm going to call him a real estate mogul. He may not be comfortable completely with that, but he has a huge real estate investment portfolio. And so I want you to learn about him. Also, he's an entrepreneur, but he's also a best-selling author with multiple books. So we want to talk about that as well. So Jarl, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Great introduction. I really appreciate being here.
Well, it's so much fun to have you because you have so many things that I want to talk about. But in this one episode, I want to focus a little bit on your real estate and kind of what got you interested in real estate. I know that you sold a property right before the last crash back in 2007, and you sold it for over $2 million. And you really made a profit when most people were just like really hurting and making a lot of bad decisions. So let's start with first, why did you get into real estate? And then tell us about this amazing investment property that you got $2 million from.
Well, for the most part, real estate is a spin. It's a creation of my entrepreneurialism. Starting companies and buying properties to put those companies in is a great way to make money because you're paying yourself rent from your business. And a lot of companies do that as a model of making money. So that's been the driver of most of my real estate holdings. I do have some properties that have just become incredibly valuable over the last 20 years. In Denmark, I have one of the most valuable properties in Copenhagen.
Wow.
And that just is quite a bit of luck, buying the right property in a location that wasn't nice and now all of a sudden is the center of town. That's just always, you got to give some credit or luck to luck, but when you can do that, hold on to a property for a long time, that is definitely good to do. Yes, one exciting property deal that I was involved with was a property here in New Jersey where we were moving the company out of a building. And now this building, when we bought it, was actually in foreclosure. And we needed to move a company in there to really start it. And it was literally a sieve. And, invested some money into it, about $750,000, and put in a clean room. We're going to make medical devices in it. Somehow, some way, it all worked out. And there's a whole lot of stories around that. But fast forward to about 2007. So about 17 years later after buying it. No, that's not correct. 10 years later. Sorry about the dates there. 10 years later, it's July, I believe, 2007. And there's two people interested in buying it. And we meet in a different abandoned warehouse because the real estate agent put us all in there. And it was very strange, but I just remember saying, you know what, we want $2 million for the building. I don't care which one of you wants to, you just offer me $2 million and you got it. Whoever offers me first gets the property. And I think that was on a Friday. By Monday, one of them gave us an offer and we closed immediately. And I believe like that Friday, the 2007 collapse began. The real estate, the whole thing. And it's not great, but I mean, we were just very fortunate again, because that property today has been leveled. It's some kind of interim park as they figure out what to do with it. It's literally nothing ever came of it. So yeah, that was a very happy ending. Wound up taking the proceeds. You can imagine we only paid very little under for foreclosure, but we rolled it into, one of those tax deals into another building where we moved the company to basically about five minutes away from there. And that was a much bigger building, and still own it today, and have actually sold the company that's in it, but own the property and so that building today is probably worth around $8 million. So, just one, but it all tied to the entrepreneurialism, growth of the company and that kind of thing. And, well, if you can do it, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of my personal wealth is tied up into real estate today. And I'm glad it is, because I can't predict the stock market. It's to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So at least when you have a property, it's something you can see and it has use.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's so special about real estate is there's so many different ways to invest in real estate. As you were just talking about, you can invest with a group of people, or even, as you mentioned, Denmark. I mean, you can go overseas and invest. I know some people who just invest down in the Caribbean, and they're making, an incredible amount of wealth because of it. So, and there are just so many different ways with real estate that you can do that. But the other thing I think that is so unique with you is that if you will talk a little bit about your childhood, and then you are an entrepreneur, but you also hold patents, right?
That's true. My first patent, where I guess I came up with the core concept, was a sacral wound care dressing. And basically, it's the idea of putting a hinge into a dressing so it fits into the sacral region a little bit better. And that became a patent, and a very important patent for a good part of the 90s. Sacral dressings were a very important high value product in the market. Today, the market's changed quite a bit. It's a lot more commoditized, a lot more competitive. But then we were getting some very good prices for that product. And it turned that company that was in those buildings. That's what drove those companies in those years was literally that patent and those products. But from there, I mean, I'm just an idea person. I love working with ideas. So I probably, if you do a Google search on me, you'll find probably about 24, 25 patents. But there's a lot more patents that I'm filing or would file. But I've learned my lesson with patents, and that is you got to be patient. You've got to prove the products. Otherwise, it's very expensive nowadays. It's not like, not that I'm comparing myself to Edison, but when Edison was filing patents, it was like he wanted to set a world record or something. And there's others like that, but it really doesn't work that way anymore because of the cost of lawyers and that kind of thing. So, ever since my very young age, I mean, with my father even, he was also an inventor and engineer like myself. And we used to play something called the idea game, and we would have a competition. He would pick something out of the garage, and we'd have a competition to figure out what we could use it for in a different way. And we'd go back and forth and see who, could go get the most. That
could be so funny. And in the middle of there's people who are trying to get rid of things all the time. And I'm always talking about declutter, get the stuff out, make sure you simplify your life. It's so easy to hold on to things for too long. And I think that's a great idea, as the idea game. Go grab something from the garage that maybe you might not have touched in a couple years, and then just come up with all sorts of really fun ideas. That reminds me of a few really funny and iconic movies that we've seen, I'm sure, as children, that are hilarious about inventors. Because I think, if you're innovative and you can just continue to create ideas, it's whether it's in real estate or anything else, it's really a matter of being creative. And ideas are king, so to speak. So I love that you guys played the idea game.
I would love to say that one of the things I love about having a business in a building is that you're literally being creative with the use of the building. Every square inch of the building that we have these companies in is utilized for a specific purpose, and that to me is also very thrilling in terms of being creative.
Yeah. Can you share maybe one story of the idea game that you played with your dad, of something that you got out of the garage and that you played?
I was I wasn't even a teenager at the time when we were doing this, but it was usually like an old, we're talking a long time ago. This is, dating myself here, 40 years ago, right? So, but it was usually some piece of metal, and this was, back in the 70s, which is what we're talking about here. We were talking, it would be some old thing, like some kind of a cast iron contraption that you'd had back then for different things or for different purposes. And I mean, one of the first ideas, especially in Denmark at that time, was almost everything was a beer opener, right? Because you just crank it like this and you open a beer. So that was like always one of the easiest one. Or see this little nook here, beer opener. So that was always the easy one. But you would. You just come up with different, ideas and ways of using it. It just, for me, I would encourage all parents to do it. I certainly have done it with one of my kids, played the idea games, and it changes the kids because they get this idea that you can use things for other purposes. And, that's really all it takes. It's just a mindset of looking for opportunities to do things differently or make improvements on the way things are today. And that's, once you start thinking like that and looking for opportunities to make things better, it's just a great combination to if you want to get into the invention business.
Absolutely. And I think that that's one of the things that I would encourage is that you should always be an idea person. Just always try to figure out how you can create. I had one of my friends who wrote a book and it's called, what is it? Hidden Solutions All Around You. And I always love that because his idea throughout, and it's a big book, is all about that there are ideas and solutions all around us. And so often we don't look. And so I love that idea of the idea game. Didn't mean to say that twice, but the idea of taking some piece that, you've looked at only one way, like this is the garden hose. And so we only use it as a garden hose. Mm-hmm. And yet there might be times when the garden hose, it gets little holes in it, or some critters have eaten parts of it and it has holes. And now what can you do with that hose? Could it be a rope? Could it turn into something else that's useful? What is it? Or could it be melted down and turned into a t-shirt? I don't know if that's actually possible. But anyway, my point just being that there are solutions around us all the time if you play that idea game. So I love that you do that. So before we run out of time, I want to make sure, Jarl, will you tell people a little bit about some of your books? I know you have a bunch of books. And there are just so many things that we need to know about. And I love that you are so passionate about sharing the wisdom that you know. So will you talk about your books?
Well, that was like a double segue.
I know, sorry.
No, because actually my books are based on an idea. It's based on the idea of taking something we have, society, and using it differently because that will solve a lot of problems. And it's, and I write about them. So there's a double segue. It is real. My books are really about a rather simple idea, but explaining it to people without sort of triggering their beliefs is a little difficult. But on a happy note, we can really solve a lot of problems here. We can make, society, humanity so much better if we just do one little thing differently. And it's like this. It's very simply, the economy can be engineered. Now, what does that mean? It means that we're currently doing things in a way where we don't apply engineering, but if we did, we can solve a lot of problems. What do I mean? Well, today we use money for one purpose only, and that is for funding banks to make loans. And that's how money comes into society. If we engineer that process and say, well, we're not just interested in letting banks make loans, we are also interested in society doing well. Like humanity being sustainable, we're interested in people having essential liberties so they can make ends meet. We're interested in maybe a healthcare system that works for us instead of this sort of let's make pharmaceutical products so we can make profits. Everything works very strangely in today. Why? Because we only use money for the purpose of making loans.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start engineering the use of money. That's the idea. It's that simple. You use engineering principles and we change the world. Let's put it this way. Our world is like a car without a steering wheel. How useful is a car without a steering wheel? All you can do is press the accelerator to go fast or let your foot off the accelerator to go slower. That's how we run our world. We either lower interest rates to make the economy go faster, spend more money, or we take our foot off the pedal and the economy slows down. That's like a car. You can either go fast or slow. But guess what? We're not actually steering the car. We don't have a steering wheel because the banking system wants to say, we just want money to bank loans to be the important thing. That's the only thing important. But what about us guys? We've got, a society we're trying to build a society here where, we're getting better outcomes. We're not getting them. This isn't working anymore. So the happy news here is there is a solution for us out there. My book, The Big Solution, talks about this, explains it thoroughly, step by step, how we got into this trouble, how to get out of it. And guess what? I did it in a fun and happy way. It's actually entertaining. It's a hilarious book, lots of funny parts, because I actually use characters to explain this sort of complex situation. Because I know if the average person doesn't understand this, the change isn't going to happen. Because guess what? Economists and bankers don't care, apparently, or they don't understand. It doesn't matter. The very simple thing is that we have this idea of applying engineering concepts to the economy to get better outcomes. We can do this. It's not very complicated. I write about it, wrote several books about it. So that's what it's all about. It's really about creating a better, happier world for everyone.
Well, Jarl, one of the things I want to interrupt you to mention, though, is I think that you're right in that if we don't understand it, we're never going to be able to apply it. And I find that with real estate investing. I find it with, people with finances. And I grew up in a home where we didn't have any kind of financial literacy. And, I remember waking up and listening to my parents argue over and over again about money, and some pretty not so good things happened financially for us. And it's amazing because I think that for most people, they just don't understand anything about the how it works, how money works, how banks work, how the economy works. And the more that, number one, you can make it understandable, that's the knowledge and the education part of it. And I kind of blend those together. But if we don't define the words, that's one of the other main things, is really making sure that we understand the words that we're using, because it's a different language. It's just like real estate. When I sit down in any of the classes I teach, I'm like, okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over some basic definitions, and I'm going to do it. I call it fun with words, because I want it to be fun. And as you just mentioned, that's the other thing, is I want it to be something that's fun for you to learn and fun for you to apply in your life, and not be something that is scary. And I think this is my opinion, but also it has been my experience that I have found so often when I bring up money and finances and anything to do with the economy and banks, it's amazing how often I get people go, oh yeah, I understand, and they have no idea. And I realize, oh my gosh, there's also a huge amount of, and I'm going to define it as pride, sometimes as shame, and around it, where they don't want to confess. This is like, going to a church confessional, and they don't want to confess that they don't know, because that would make them look really bad. And so I think that's also part of your message and getting out is be able to be willing to look at a new definition of economy and look at it in a different light. Just like we talked about, how do you, the idea game, if you can take the ideas and change it and make it in a different way. So think about it in that way, to look at it in a different light, and try to always have fun embracing that learning and how to apply it in your life and not be afraid of it. So I'm so thankful for the fact that you've taken all the time. I know how hard it is to write books, and you've done such a brilliant job of getting those out. So will you share with people, how can they find out more about you and all that you're doing with all your books? I know you're on Amazon, but Do you have a website? How can they follow you?
Yeah, I have an author page or author website, Jarl Jensen, Jarl Jensen, JENSEN.com. That's sort of the boring one where I talk about my books. My more exciting one is optimizingamerica.com, which is more of the movement page. There's lots of blogs. Most of my books are free. So you can go to Amazon and read them for free. I'm not trying to make money here. I just want my kids to have a better world, a happy world for everyone. It's possible. We just need to do things a little differently. It's really not a big change here. We just need to understand the banking system and how money works and what we think money is. Once we do that, we can engineer economy, and trust me, wow, what a change that is. What a happy, wonderful world we will have.
Yeah. Well, Jarl Jensen, thank you so much. Optimizing America, we'll make sure we put it in the notes as well. And as I say every week, find a way to make someone else smile. I am Jennifer Hammond.